Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'd like to do a packet tracer lab focusing on some basic static routing and also some basic subnetting. So I have a packet tracer lab prepared for us. So let me hop into that with you. In this lab, we have four devices. We have PC0 here on the bottom left, and we have PC1 here on the bottom right. We also have router 0 and router 1. So at the end of all this, we want PC0 to be able to communicate across router 0 and to router 1, and then be able to communicate with PC1. And we want the routers to be able to communicate to each other as well. So the first thing we want to notice is these notes on the network diagram. Uh, it shows us our networks and our subnets. So the network between PC0 and router 0 is 192.168.0.0/24. So let's check on router 0 and let's see if things have been configured properly. So let's enable to go to privileged exec mode. Let's do a show IP interface brief. Okay. We see that the gigabit 000 interface here is currently configured with 192.168.0.1 and is up and up. So that's this interface here on the bottom. Now, we could assume that the configurations made to this are in the right subnet, the /24 subnet, but it's always best to check. So normally you could run a command like show interface G000 like that, but packet tracer does not allow that. It's limited in that way. So a workaround that you can do is show run pipe symbol, then we're going to do section, and then we're going to type in G0, or we're not going to include the G, we're just going to type in 000 like that. And it's going to pull up the interface configuration information for our gigabit 000 interface. And as we can tell, it is on the /24 subnet. Cisco iOS, and you cannot use CIDR notation, slash notation, so you have to use the dotted decimal notation. Okay, so this is configured properly. Now let's check the same thing on router router 1 here. Is this bottom interface configured properly as well too? Let me move this back over here. Okay. Show IP interface brief. Okay, so the bottom is set up 192.168.100.0/24. And then this interface here, the gigabit 000 interface, is set up on 192.168.100.1 and is up and up. All right, let's just confirm that it's on the right subnet like we did before. So show run, pipe symbol, section 000. Okay, and yes, it is on the /24 subnet. Okay, so the links between our PCs and our routers are properly configured. So now let's check the link between the routers. So as you can tell here on router 1, since we're already here, the gigabit 001 interface, this inside interface that goes to router 0 right here, is up and up, but there is no IP address assigned. Okay, so communication cannot happen right now. So let's check router 0 and let's see. Okay. So the gigabit 001 interface is properly configured with 10.10.10.1. And we're seeing, according to our notes, that this is a /30 subnet. So /30 subnet has 4 hosts, but only 2 of those are usable. So in this case, the .0 and the .3 are unusable because .0 is the network address, .3 is the broadcast address. So router 0 has chosen to use .1. So that means that router 1, the only choice that we have here is to use the .2. So let's go to router 1. Let's go to global config mode. Let's go to interface config mode. We're going to configure the G001 interface. we're going to configure an IP address of 10.10.10.2, and then we're going to put the proper subnet. Now, subnetting can be complicated for when you first learn it, but after a while it does get easier. So I do encourage you to practice a lot and study, and soon you'll get it. So there we go. We have the proper IP address and subnet already there, and we see it, that it was already configured to up and up. Again, as always though, just for muscle memory, we'll issue the no shutdown command. So we should be able to ping back from router 1, which we're currently logged into, to router 0. Okay, so we need to add the do keyword, since we're not at the privileged exec mode. We are in the interface configuration mode. So do ping, and we're going to just ping the G001 interface of router 0 there on the dot 1. And it should work, hopefully. Let's see what happens. Okay, great. So again, you see this first one failed because of the ARP process. Had to go through one round, and then the other 4 pings passed. Okay, so we have two-way connectivity from router 0 to router 1. So let's see. Now let's configure our PCs. So the PCs here, you can config the PCs from a few different menus. I like to configure it from the desktop and then the IP configuration menu, because you can see everything together. So we do need to configure static IPs. For PC0, we cannot use the duplicate IP address that's on router 1, which is the O.1 interface. So we can use anything from 192.168.0.2 all the way to .254. So we have all of those hosts available to assign. So let's go ahead and just do the .2, and it already picked up the subnet mask here. The other important thing that we need to configure is the default gateway. The default gateway is the IP address that the host will use to communicate outside of the subnet. So we're going to configure that to be the only other IP address we have in this situation is in the subnet is the G000 interface on router 0, and that's the .1. All right, so we're going to configure that there. We should be good. So we should be able now to go to our terminal, our command prompt. We should be able to ping 192.168.0.1, and we can. All right. We can also see the configuration on here by ipconfig. We see the IP address of this host is .2, and the IP address of the default gateway is .1. Okay, so let's do the same thing on PC1. Okay, we need to check our subnet here, 192.168.100.0, and we know that router 1 is configured to use 100.1. So we'll use 100.2. Actually, just to show you that you can use any IP address, we'll use .230 just to illustrate that we have all of those hosts available. So we'll do 100.230. That's the proper subnet. We do need to configure the default gateway, which is the IP address of the gigabit 000 interface. So let's do that. Okay. Now we should be able to see that here. So ipconfig. Okay. We see things are properly done here. Okay. And then we should be able to ping our default gateway, which is this address here. So we'll copy that. And then we have to paste it back. And success, we were able to ping the default gateway. Okay, so let's see if PC1 can ping all the way back to PC0. And that was 192.168.0.2. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we are failing to communicate between PC0 and PC1. Now, at the beginning, I said that I wanted to go over static routing. So we do need to configure static routing. Static routing as opposed to dynamic routing, where dynamic routing is where you use some sort of protocol like OSPF, for example. You advertise the networks that you want, and then the routers communicate that to each other. For static routing, however, we have to do that. We have to tell the routers how to get places. So the way I like to think about it is this. Currently, router 0, it knows how to get to this .0.0/24 network. It knows how to get here because it's directly connected right here, all right? But it does not know how to get to this 100.0 network because it's not directly connected. And similarly, router 1, it knows how to get to the 100.0 network because it's directly connected to it, but it does not know how to get to the .0.0 network. So we have to tell the routers how to do that, and we have to tell each of them how to get to the networks that they don't know about. Okay, so for router 0, what we're going to do is we're going to be in global config mode, and the command is iproute. Okay, and then we're going to give the network that we want to route to. So we're going to, in this case, we don't know how to get to the 100.0 network. Okay, so we're going to configure that, and then we need to tell it the next hop. We need to tell it, okay, router 0, in order to get to the .100.0 network, you need to hop here. And in this case, it's here. It's the gigabit 001 interface on router 1. And if you remember, we configured that as 10.10.10.2. Okay, so that's how you do that for router 0. Now, pings will still not work. You have to connect two ways. So right now, router 0 knows how to get to the .100 network, but router 1 does not know how to get back. So you have to configure router 1 in a similar fashion. So let's get back to the global config mode, iproute. Now in this case, we're going to tell router 1 how to get to the .0.0 network. So here 192.168.0.0, 255.255.255.0. And again, the next hop that it's going to take in this case is going to be the G001 interface of router 0, which was configured at 10.10.10.1. All right. So in order to confirm that, the command would be show IP route. We need to add the do keyword since we're not in privileged exec mode. So do show IP route. We can see here that this S stands for static, and it tells you right here that in order to get in order for router 1 to get to the 192.168.0.0 network, it needs to go via 10.10.10.1. Okay, and then we could do the same thing on router 0. Do show IP route, and again here the static route S configured to get to the 192.168.100.0 network via the 10.10.10.2 network. All right, so final test here. Let's go to PC 0, and we should be able to ping 192.168.100.230, which is the IP address of PC 1. And there we go. Success. So I want to say thank you for joining me today. Today we learned about some basic subnetting and how to confirm that, and some basic static routing. Thank you so much for coming.